This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next hour, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses rallies in Srinagar and Katra, campaigns for second and third phase of assembly elections, says no power in the world can bring back Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. Anti-terror watchdog praises India, says country has achieved a high level of technical compliance across FATF recommendations. Lebanon continues to remain on edge post walkie-talkie explosion killing 25 people. Israel launches airstrikes in southern Lebanon, claims security services thwarted Iran-backed assassination plot. And global stock markets rally after US Federal Reserve delivers a big interest rate cut. Asian stocks rise. Bank of England keeps its main interest rate on hold at 5%. Ahead of the remaining two phases of Jammu and Kashmir Assembly polls, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held two rallies in Srinagar and Jammu. This is Prime Minister Modi's first rally for BJP candidates in the Union Territory and his third visit to the region this year. The Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir is voting for 90 constituencies, 43 for Jammu and 47 for the Kashmir region. First elections post historic abrogation of Article 370, and also assembly elections are being held there almost after a decade. I get you more details in the report that follows.
दुनिया की कोई ताकत जम्मू कश्मीर में आर्टिकल 370 की वापसी नहीं करा सकती। हम जम्मू कश्मीर में पाकिस्तान के एजेंडा को लागू नहीं होने देंगे।
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi making it loud and clear that Article 370 in Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir is history. Prime Minister Modi addressed second rally of the day on Thursday aimed at bolstering support for BJP candidates in Katra region of Jammu. Prime Minister Modi asserted that the government will not let Pakistan's agenda be imposed in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Earlier in the day, Prime Minister Modi also canvassed for BJP candidates in poll-bound Kashmir region ahead of the remaining two phases of the assembly polls. Prime Minister Modi hailed high voter turnout in the very first phase without the shadow of fear and terror.
जम्मू कश्मीर में इस वक्त जमहूरियत का त्योहार चल रहा है। पहली बार दहशतगर्दी के साए के बिना ये वोटिंग हुई। हम सभी के लिए ये बहुत खुशी की बात है, गर्व की बात है कि इतनी बड़ी तादाद में लोग वोटिंग के लिए अपने घरों से बाहर निकले।
Reaching out to youth of Jammu Kashmir, Prime Minister Modi lauded the newfound confidence of youth in democracy, signifying their vote was a driver of change and empowerment. Lashing out at the National Conference, People's Democratic Party and Congress, Prime Minister said 3 generations of these 3 regional players have failed the youth of Valley.
आज वादी का जो नौजवान 20, 25, 30 साल का है, उनमें से कई पढ़ाई लिखाई से महरूम रह गए। ये इसलिए नहीं हुआ कि जम्मू कश्मीर के हमारे नौजवान फेल हुए, बल्कि ये इसलिए हुआ क्योंकि कांग्रेस, एनसी और पीडीपी के 3 खानदान फेल हुए थे।
Rallies in Srinagar in Kashmir and Katra in Jammu are a critical component of the BJP strategy to strengthen its foothold and consolidate its cadre in the region ahead of the decisive elections. First, after abrogation of Article 370 in 2019 and assembly polls taking place after a decade. The next phases of voting for Jammu and Kashmir elections are set for September 25th and October 1st, with the counting of ballots scheduled for October 8th, a decisive mandate for first elected government of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Sakal Bhatt's report for DD India. In other news, the World Food India 2024 spotlights India's dynamic farm-to-fork supply chains and positioning it as a global sourcing hub for agri-products. The four-day mega event sees Japan as the partner country, while Vietnam and Iran participate as focus countries. Anil Thomas of DD India has these details.
Bharat Mandapam hosts the third edition of World Food India 2024. This highly anticipated global event from the 19th to the 22nd of September sees participation from over 90 countries, 26 Indian states and union territories. A coffee table book on the food processing journey was also released. Minimum waste, maximum wealth is the way forward for making food sustainable.
Through irradiation units, it's a new technology through which all the perishable items, you can increase the shelf life of those perishable items. So we are trying to incorporate these technologies, and then yes, the basic ideas to provide an ecosystem, where the wastage can be reduced through cold storage, the complete cold chain.
The event promises to be a major convergence of innovation, technology and sustainability in the food processing sector. The four-day event promises to transform India as the food basket for the world processing industry.
India itself is a big market, and apart from that we can feed to the world. To feed to the world, there is a competition, another one is quality, and other things like residual other things, best quality, best packing, all such things can be experienced here, and this is a very good thing as far as further to market the brand India.
The reverse buyer-seller meet organized by EPEDA, MPEDA and the commodity boards sees a robust presence of over 1,000 buyers. A high-level CEO roundtable finds solutions to the world food processing industry.
This celebration of Indian food heritage here at Bharat Mandapam in the presence of esteemed dignitaries from around the globe is a testimony that India stands tall on the food map of the world. Our farmers, the first processors of our household, the house makers who are the backbone of this processing culture, had contributed immensely.
Japan is the partner country for World Food India 2024. In addition, Vietnam and Iran participate as focus countries. This year's four-day event promises to be a landmark occasion highlighting India's emerging role as a global powerhouse in food processing. Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be interacting with the beneficiaries of Prime Minister Vishwakarma during his visit to Wardha on Friday. We have more details here.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Wardha, Maharashtra and participate in the National PM Vishwakarma program, marking 1 year of progress under PM Vishwakarma.
This program is basically to celebrate success of PM Vishwakarma scheme, which has been launched last year by Honorable PM Narendra Modi. This program also includes launching of Mega PM Mitra Textile Park in Amravati, followed by 2 schemes of skill development department, that is the Acharya Chanakya Skill Development Center and Punyashlok Ahilyabai Holkar Mahila Startup Scheme. Followed by launching of the event, the Honorable PM will interact with 750 locations across India.
During the program, Prime Minister will release certificates and loans to PM Vishwakarma beneficiaries. He'll also release a commemorative stamp dedicated to mark 1 year of progress under PM Vishwakarma.
India is known for its sophisticated traditional craftsmanship. However, due to various factors, particularly due to technical advancement related competition in market and also due to COVID-19 crisis, Indian artisans and craftsmen had to face hard days. This Vishwakarma Yojana had ensured that the much needed support and help by the government could be extended to these artisans.
The scheme provides collateral-free credit, skill training, modern tools, incentive for digital transactions and market linkage support to artisans in 18 trades. In Wardha, artisans are excited to attend the event.
हमने रजिस्ट्रेशन किए, हमारा ट्रेनिंग भी हुआ 40 घंटे का, इसकी जो है स्टाइपेंड भी मिल गया उनको और आगे इनके किट मिलने वाली है। ये कारीगरों के लिए लाभदायक है और आगे नई पीढ़ी को उत्साही होने के लिए अच्छा है और आर्थिक उसकी बाजू भी सक्षम होंगी।
इस योजना को लेकर के हमारे समाज में एक खुशी की लहर आई है और नए युवा वर्ग में अपने पारंपरिक व्यवसाय के प्रति भावना जागृत हुई है।
More than 2 million beneficiaries have registered to avail the benefits of this scheme, out of which 1,11,861 are from Maharashtra.
Wardha lies near Sevagram, which is the place where our freedom fighters had held number of meetings to give a boost to Swadeshi movement. Now at the time, the country is witnessing another form of Swadeshi movement through Make in India, Vocal for Local, Self-Reliant India. Wardha will be witnessing the first anniversary of the scheme, that is PM Vishwakarma Yojana, the scheme which is dedicated to the core of Indian talent. With my colleague Kapil, this is Yogesh Kumar Seetal reporting from Maharashtra for DD India.
India's Ministry of External Affairs on Thursday rejected reports claiming the diversion of India's defence exports to Ukraine and termed them speculative and misleading. The External Affairs Ministry in a statement said, and I quote, "We have seen the Reuters report. It is speculative and misleading. It implies violations by India where none exist and hence is inaccurate and mischievous." The ministry further states that India has a record of adhering to international commitments. India has been carrying out its defence exports taking into account its international obligations on non-proliferation and based on its own robust legal and regulatory framework, which includes a holistic assessment of relevant criteria, including end-user obligations and certifications. The Indian government has extended budget support to the Maldives with a rollover of a $50 million treasury bill for an additional year. Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Maldives, Musa Zamir, has extended gratitude to India for this financial support. In a tweet, he said, and I quote, "Sincere gratitude to External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and the Government of India for extending crucial budgetary support to Maldives with a rollover of $50 million treasury bill. This generous gesture reflects the enduring bonds of friendship between Maldives and India." Well, still to come on DD India News Hour, coming up next after the short break. Israeli security services say it thwarted an Iran-backed assassination plot. And catastrophic weather patterns continue to wreak havoc in different parts of the world. On the other side, stay with us. We also talk about the 7th Sharjah Investment Forum concluding today after 2 days of discussions on futuristic vision for smart economies.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and now let's get you some more news. This is from Russia. President Vladimir Putin announced on Thursday that Russia is ramping up drone production nearly tenfold to 1.4 million units this year to secure victory in Ukraine. Speaking in St. Petersburg, Putin revealed that 140,000 drones had already been delivered to the armed forces in 2023, with a significant production boost planned. He says whoever reacts faster on the battlefield wins, emphasizing the importance of drones in modern warfare.
In total, about 140,000 unmanned vehicles of various types were delivered to the armed forces in 2023. This year, the production of unmanned vehicle is planned to increase several times, or to be more precise, almost 10 times. In addition, the range of unmanned system is expanding. Unmanned boats are being created. We have seen them today. Robotic platforms for multi-purpose use.
Germany is set to approve close to 400 million euros in additional military aid to Ukraine. The funds are in addition to around 8 billion euros budgeted for Ukraine in 2024. Germany is Ukraine's biggest supporter in Europe in terms of military aid. Ukraine has been backed by arms from its allies, but is worried that support may drop as the war grinds on. Following a request by the Defense Ministry, the Finance Ministry in the letter is asking for approval of the extra expenditure from the Budget Committee of the Lower House of Parliament. European Union Chief Ursula von der Leyen has announced that frozen Russian assets will fund Ukraine's humanitarian needs this winter. Speaking at a Brussels conference, she pledged nearly $176 million in additional aid, including $66 million for shelters and heaters and $110 million for repairs and renewables. Von der Leyen emphasized it is only right that Russia pays for the destruction it caused.
Half of all the country's energy infrastructure has been destroyed. As Ukraine's friends and partners, we must do all we can to keep the lights on. And as winter is approaching, we must keep the brave people of Ukraine warm, while we also are keeping the economy running.
Lebanon is again engulfed in turmoil as chaos erupted in Beirut following the explosion of wireless communication devices on Wednesday, just a day after thousands of pagers blasted. 25 people have lost their lives so far and over 600 injured in these walkie-talkie explosions that have grabbed global headlines. Hezbollah has accused Israeli intelligence agency Mossad for the explosion. And as tensions escalate, the Israeli defense minister states that the nation is entering a new phase of conflict. Saeed Abzarul Hassan has filed this report.
Lebanon remains on edge as a day after thousands of pagers exploded across the country. An explosion of wireless communication devices on Wednesday created chaos in the capital Beirut. 25 people lost their lives in the walkie-talkies explosion and over 600 were injured, sending shockwaves throughout Lebanon.
Regarding the issue of martyrs, the last number we had from the Ministry of Health concerning the martyrs who fell in yesterday's attack was 25. As of now, we have 25 martyrs. As for the wounded who were injured yesterday, we have 608 wounded. This was the total number.
A source close to Hezbollah stated that the walkie-talkies used by its members exploded in its Beirut stronghold, with the state media reporting similar blasts in southern and eastern Lebanon. The deadly attacks came a day after the simultaneous explosions of hundreds of pagers devices used by Hezbollah, which killed 12 people, including 2 children, and wounded nearly 3,000 others in an unprecedented attack blamed on Israel. While Israeli officials have not yet commented, security sources claim that Israel's spy agency Mossad was behind the attack. A Hezbollah official described the incident as the group's biggest security breach in its history. A former member of Israel's military secret services stated that the mass attack on Hezbollah's communication devices has put Israel in the spotlight again.
The unit started with the main focus of being an alerting unit, classical SIGINT unit, signal intelligence unit, then morphed into a cyber operation, probably one of the best cyber operations worldwide. And
Japanese walkie-talkies maker Osaka has stated that the devices that exploded may not be genuine products.
I have a picture of the device that exploded in black and white printed here. The hologram sticker should be here pointing to the printed paper. The fact that the sticker is not on here means we cannot determine if it is genuine.
During a visit to an air base, Israeli Defense Minister Yuva Connect stated that the nation is at the start of a new phase in the war, with the center of gravity moving northward. Meanwhile, Israeli security services arrested an Israeli citizen on suspicion of involvement in an Iranian-backed assassination plot targeting prominent individuals, including the Prime Minister. In a statement, they said the suspect was a businessman with connections in Turkey who had attended at least 2 meetings in Iran to discuss the possibility of assassinating Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, or the head of the Shin Bet domestic intelligence agency. The arrest occurred last month, according to a joint statement by Shin Bet and the Israeli police. Syed Absarul Hassan reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, in a joint press statement, Slovenia's Foreign Affairs Minister Tanja Fajon has highlighted concerns over the ongoing restrictions on the rights of women and girls in Afghanistan. Fajon stated that the systematic and comprehensive nature of these restrictions could amount to gender persecution and called for an immediate end. She was joined by representatives from Ecuador, France, Guyana, Japan, Malta, the Republic of Korea, Sierra Leone, Switzerland and United Kingdom, and also United States, all signatories of the Statement of Shared Commitments for the Principles of Women, Peace and Security at the United Nations Security Council.
The systematic and comprehensive nature of these restrictions on the exercise of human rights of women and girls may amount to gender persecution and must stop now. We condemn once again the issuance of more than 70 edicts and decrees restricting the enjoyment of the rights of women and girls issued by the Taliban, including the ban on education for women and girls beyond 6th grade, and the codification and expansion of many of these restrictions with the so-called law on promotion of virtue and prevention of vice.
Several people in Central and Eastern Europe have died in flooding caused by Storm Boris. The worst floods to hit Central Europe in at least 2 decades have left a trail of destruction from Romania to Poland, spreading mud and debris in towns, destroying bridges. DD India's Ayushi Bhatnagar has more on this.
Catastrophic weather patterns continue to wreak havoc in different parts of the world. The worst floods to hit Central Europe in at least 2 decades have left a trail of destruction from Romania to Poland, spreading mud and debris in towns and destroying bridges, have claimed at least 23 lives in the Czech Republic, 7 in Poland and Romania each, and 5 in Austria. The German Weather Service says hot summer and warm Mediterranean Sea have contributed to the recent flooding across Central Europe.
We don't see an increase in the frequency of this type of weather, but the Mediterranean is comparatively warmer than average. This also means that the air flowing over it can absorb significantly more water, and that is the discharge again in the form of rain.
In Italy, over 500 rescue operations were carried out in the past 24 hours, and dozens of people were evacuated from their homes in the province of Forlì and the province of Ravenna. Helicopters of the Italian Air Force on Thursday were deployed for the rescue operations in the province of Ravenna. Houses, businesses and streets in the Hungarian town of Veroce were inundated with flood waters as the river Danube's water rose. Hungary's weather agency said that the river is still expected to peak around or slightly above 8.5 meters, likely on Friday or Saturday.
At present, we are strengthening the dam. We have been doing this here for 2 days, helping the local council of Kismaru. So far, 300 workers worked on it, and at present, 200 are building the dam. The water is beginning to peak. Now, this is the time when the real help is needed.
As per the German Weather Service, climate change has amplified the intensity of the floods across Europe over the past several days, which is consistent with what climate scientists have been predicting since the 1990s for a warmer planet due to the burning of coal, oil and gas. Ayushi Bhatnagar reporting for DD India.
Mohammed Al Fayad, former owner of luxury department store Harrods, has been accused of raping and sexually abusing some of his former women employees. As per news reports, the documentary Al Fayad, Predator at Harrods, claimed that the billionaire raped 5 women and sexually abused at least 15 others when they worked at the luxury department store. Mohammed Al Fayad died at last year, aged 94. He had sold Harrods to Qatar's Sovereign Wealth Fund in 2010. The 7th Sharjah Investment Forum concluded today after 2 days of discussions on futuristic vision for smart economies. The event featured over 80 global speakers and more than 100 sessions, including keynotes, panels and workshops. A notable presence of the Indian business leaders highlighted growing UAE-India economic ties. A key session on the UAE-India Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement emphasized enhanced market access and the strategic role of the UAE for Indian SMEs. The forum, organized by the Sharjah FDI office, covered finance, renewable energy, future technologies and digital era skills, reinforcing Sharjah's status as a prime investment destination. Well, the internet is a billion-dollar business, but when it comes to the EU, that number doesn't really apply just to revenues, but to fines. The bloc is regularly punishing the likes of Google, Meta and others for not complying to the strict regulation there. Lars Halter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin for more. So, Lars, to begin with, is Google all clear with the EU now? What more details can you share?
No, not at all, because this case, again, this was an old case from 2019, actually. That was just one of the cases the company has and had in Brussels. Another one was just decided last week, and it's even more expensive for Google. Last week, the courts backed a fine levied by antitrust regulators 7 years ago. Google has to pay 2.5 billion euros as a fine for various anti-competitive practices. The European Commission says that the company has used its own price comparison shopping service to gain an unfair advantage over smaller European rivals. All in all, Google has racked up over 8 billion euros in EU antitrust fines in the last decade. Some are connected to the company's Android, a mobile operating system. Others include, of course, the AdSense case that I just talked about. Generally, it seems Google will always have some business in EU courts.
Okay, Lars, thank you for those details. Well, some more news now. Innovations by at least 31 students were awarded at the 11th national competition organized by Indian Ministry of Science and Technology in Delhi on Thursday. More than 4,96,000 students' entries from across the country from all districts were filtered down to 350 at the state level. India aims to rise to be among the top 5 innovator countries by 2047. All districts and states were represented in the competition, which aims to encourage scientific innovation in school students.
It is a momentous occasion here because we are really celebrating the innovations of a bright young mind, the exceptional talent and innovations that was on display in the last 3 days really gives us the confidence that there is indeed a significant talent and potential that exists in the country.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh addressed the second edition of the Naval Commanders Conference 24 in New Delhi. He commended the Indian Navy for playing a crucial role in promoting peace and prosperity in the Indian Ocean. He termed the region as valuable and sensitive in view of the economic, geopolitical, trade and security aspects. The Defence Minister lauded the Indian Navy's readiness towards safeguarding the maritime interests of the country, which has resulted in establishing its credibility as the first responder in the region. And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll have a guest joining us on the big story on the Festival of Democracy in Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Prime Minister addressed two important rallies, one in Srinagar and the other in Katra region of Jammu. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and before we move on, let's do a quick recap of the headlines at the start. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses rallies in Srinagar and Katra, campaigns for the second and third phase of assembly polls, says no power in the world can bring back Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. Anti-terror watchdog praises India, says country has achieved a high level of technical compliance across FATF recommendations. And Lebanon continues to remain on the edge post walkie-talkie explosion killing at least 25 people. Meanwhile, Israel launches airstrikes in southern Lebanon, claims security services thwarted Iran-backed assassination plot. And let's quickly go back to our top story on Prime Minister Modi's rally in poll-bound Jammu Kashmir and the bigger message. Guest for NewsNight tonight is Mr. Alok Bansal, Director, India Foundation, joining us on this broadcast. Thank you very much. Good evening, sir, Mr. Bansal. So I'm sure you saw the reports from Katra as well as Srinagar. What do you think about the significance of the subjects that Prime Minister talked about today, especially the statement in Katra when Prime Minister said that no power in the world can bring back Article 370 in Jammu Kashmir, considering that some of the parties tried to make this Article 370 abrogation a rallying point in these elections?
See, firstly, we need to be very clear that there is a euphoria in significant section of population of JNK as far as abrogation of Article 370 is concerned, and a very clear manifestation of this in the high polling percentage that we have in JNK. The second part we need to understand as far as the constitutional process is concerned. If you have to do any amendment in constitution, it requires parliamentary resolutions by 2/3 majority followed by ratification by 3/4 of the states. At this point of time, while significant population in JNK supports abrogation of 370, as far as rest of India is concerned, there is an overwhelming support. I think even 95% people must be supporting this. So it's virtually not possible. It's practically not possible for anyone to even think of that. And that is one of the reasons why, although National Conference is talking of it, its poll ally, Indian National Congress, has not said so, because they realize that a statement on this would be extremely counterproductive to them outside JNK. And that is one of the reasons. I think it's a reality which everybody must understand, but some of the local political parties in JNK are trying to make an issue out of this because they have run out of agendas and run out of issues. And more importantly, because of abrogation of Article 370, we have seen the growth of grassroots level democracy in JNK, which has brought in a new crop of leaders.
Correct.
Actually outside this entrenched 2 or 3 families that have been controlling JNK for decades. So I think there is a sense of fear as far as these entrenched politicians are concerned. And that's where we are seeing some manifestation of anger or opposition to this particular thing, but an overwhelming majority of citizens of India support it, and a significant number in J&K are also extremely happy with the abrogation of Article 370.
Right. And having said that, Prime Minister also took PDP and National Conference as well as Congress head on, which you also talked about. But if you look at the electoral game this time around, the fight, especially in Kashmir region, do you think BJP this time is actually posing a formidable challenge to the National Conference and the likes of the PDP, considering they have in these elections, fielded candidates at least on these 19 crucial constituencies? Like, I went to Pulwama with my team, and there was this a good, robust cadre or a base support for the BJP because of the fruits of the abrogation of Article 370.
See, let there be no doubt that there is a substantive chunk of population, even in Kashmir Valley, which is very happy with the abrogation of Article 370. Whether they'll be able to win the elections or not, that will depend on the poll process, because most of the contests in Kashmir Valley are multi-cornered, and in multi-cornered elections, it is, I think, the electoral arithmetic on that particular day that decides the thing. But I have no doubts that BJP has very strong potential and chance in many seats in Kashmir Valley. In fact, there are many seats where BJP candidates could give a strong fight and could even emerge victorious.
What do you make of the higher voter turnout, like 61% in the very first phase, considering these polls are, the assembly elections are being held there after a decade? Last were held just after the floods that hit in 2014, and the first one after 2019, after a gap of 5 years after 2019.
See, firstly, the population of Jammu and Kashmir has shown that they have complete faith as far as constitution is concerned of India, also in the electoral process of India. I think that's why you are seeing such a high percentage. These people want to choose their own candidates who can govern them, and I think this is the first chance that they are getting after a significant period of time, and they're showing their enthusiasm in coming in big numbers to vote.
What do you make of Prime Minister Modi's Jammu Kashmir outreach, this being his third visit? Though this is purely, campaigning for the campaigning purposes, he opened the Srinagar rally, spoke in Kashmiri briefly, and then he also talked about Dil ki aur Delhi ki duri mitani hai, which basically means bringing Kashmiris closer to the center or closer to the heart of Delhi. The whole outreach.
He is trying to reach out to the people of Kashmir, and he has always given significant importance to this part of India. In fact, he has come to Kashmir, I think, more number of times than any other prime minister probably. And there is a significant chunk of population in Kashmir, especially the youth, who actually connect with him and identify with him. So he is actually reaching out to him, and his rallies always make an impact as far as the electoral process is concerned.
And post-abrogation, the way Valley has changed, if you look at the security scenario, if you look at education, though employment, people are talking about, this is one of their demands, more employment opportunities. In your mind, sir, what is the significance of these polls, and what would be, in terms of the aspirations of the voters, Kashmiri voters? Prime Minister today also spoke about how people are now talking about books and uninterrupted education, and these are the votes without the shadow of fear or terror, which not used to be the case earlier.
These elections are important because first elections after changing of status of Jammu and Kashmir, abrogation of Article 370, and people have huge expectations from the government. Because post 370, people feel that they have come into the mainstream. All the shackles that had been binding their growth, which had been holding them back from growth, have actually been removed. So people want to grow. But unfortunately, whatever you may like to say, now they didn't have their own representatives. So now they will have their own representatives who will probably be able to govern them according to their wishes. And that's why there is a huge interest that we are seeing in terms of participation. Because irrespective of who forms the government, who emerges victorious, this is actually a victory for the democratic process and for the Constitution of India.
Yes, maximum number of independents also are in the fray this time around in these elections. Mr. Bansal, one final question. So you've covered Kashmir so closely, politically and otherwise also. You heard Prime Minister today in Srinagar rally, a very important rally that was in Srinagar and Katra of Jammu. What do you think has been an overlying or a far overarching message of the Prime Minister, the larger message?
Prime Minister's message is, by doing rallies, firstly he wants to assure all Kashmiris that you are secure. Because if Prime Minister is coming time and again holding rallies, that shows how secure Kashmir is. That is a message to an ordinary Kashmiri citizen, also to the international community at large, and also to Kashmiri youth, that how much he cares for them. He wants to there, and he wants them to participate in overwhelming numbers so that they can shape their own destiny, when they can elect their own representatives and decide what they want and how they should need to move forward. Because please understand, in case of Jammu and Kashmir, there is a huge roadmap.
Yes.
Election is just the first process. You'll have a government formation, then maybe assembly may pass a resolution asking for restoration of statehood, which again center is committed to. So at some stage, statehood would be restored. So, but it's a first process where you are actually trying to elect a government, see how it functions, how things improve, or what is the going forward, how does it pan out, and then of course we'll be going for statehood. So there is a huge roadmap as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. The growth, the economic development has started, but it needs to be taken forward, because as of now the economic development, the investment is in certain sectors and in certain parts of Jammu and Kashmir.
Right.
This needs to be taken to all parts of Jammu and Kashmir, and that is what is the requirement.
That's right, and this is a vote which would be a clear transition, also marking a clear transition from stagnation to stability in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you very much, Mr. Alok Bansal, for joining us on this broadcast. Thank you. Let's move on to some more news and updates. India has achieved a high level of technical compliance across the FATF recommendations and has taken significant steps to implement measures to tackle illicit finance. The Financial Action Task Force, or FATF, has today released India's mutual evaluation report on combating terror financing and anti-money laundering regime. India has implemented an anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing frameworks that is achieving good results. It also says that authorities make good use of financial intelligence and cooperate effectively, both domestically and internationally, adding that India has made significant steps in financial inclusion, more than doubling the proportion of the population with bank accounts, encouraging greater reliance on digital payment systems, and making use of simplified due diligence for small accounts. India also achieved positive results in international cooperation, asset recovery, and implementing target financial sanctions for proliferation financing. Well, banks cannot have system which gets hacked. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said to the banking sector, stressing the importance of digital security in today's evolving banking landscape. Speaking at the Bank of Maharashtra's 90th Foundation Day on Thursday, Minister Sitharaman urged banks to build robust and resilient systems to protect customer trust. Finance Minister advised banks to conduct regular emergency drills to ensure preparedness in handling potential digital threats.
UPI is no longer just for India. 7 different countries are using UPI. So your businesses are not going to be digitally run from India elsewhere, because now with the digital, no borders are going to be big enough borders, strong enough borders. You can always reach any geography. Actually giving us the advantage is something which you can plan for your future. I've spoken about technology adoption, and adoption for risk mitigation is one very important feature, because your risks, as I said, are very high as you benefit from the technology's advantages.
Indian President Draupadi Murmu visited Ujjain today on the second day of her Madhya Pradesh visit. The President distributed certificates to the Swachhata Mitras. She interacted with the Safai Mitras and attended the Safai Mitra Sammelan. After visiting the Sri Mahakaleshwar temple, she did Shramdan in the temple premises under the Swachhta Hi Seva Pakhwada. In the last leg of her MP visit, President attended the convocation ceremony of Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya in Indore. Pickling is a traditional Indian home and community ritual that includes preserving fruits, vegetables and other food items in a spice, salt and oil combination. This tradition has been part of the Indian culture for millennia and continues to be practiced now. Pickles from all over India were on display at the World Food India 2024. DD India's Anil Thomas takes a sneak look.
World Food India 2024 is special in many ways, but one thing that stands out in this particular summit is this particular kiosk that you see. It's beautiful for the simple reason you've got close to 1,000 pickle varieties from the length and breadth of India. Let's quickly explain how this looks like. This is the map of India. You get to see close to 28 states in our union territories that follow. Let's look at Delhi. It's so small. I'm trying to get Delhi on board. Well, that's the map of Delhi that we're looking at. The place that we bring this program from. This is the variety of pickles that you would see from Delhi. There are many varieties that we're looking at. Let's try and pick something. A raw mango pickle is what we're looking at. This gives you the small scale unit where it is prepared. And this is a wonderful feeling to see pickles from all over India. The entire length and breadth of India is captured in this particular place. Close to 1,000 varieties of pickles of different kinds, and that's what makes this particular kiosk or stall very interesting.
Nice to see it. All different states are competing for the pickles. Number one, the Kerala one is a special one because it's banana. Bananas always give the medicines and curing for all other the heredity disease.
Yes, so many pickles we have seen other than Mizoram products also, but I don't understand how they can do a lot of pickles from many varieties of fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Taking national products as a whole, ours is very petty things, but then I feel great to see our products over here, whether it's small or big.
People should consume, and it is woman oriented. No, it is a man, woman, both are taking the pickle as the most. Whatever you take the consumption of food, but there is a plate pickle. Without pickle, there is no good food also.
Well, there is a deep connection between pickles and one's motherland. So people traveling abroad, students traveling abroad, this is a wonderful place to come and take a part of your memories as you leave our motherland. And for people who are also coming to India, enjoying these pickles. With camera person YK Loknath, Anil Thomas for DD India.
Well, after that mouth-watering report on India's pickles, we take a short break. But on the other side, this is what we have for you. Still to come on DD India News Hour, US Fed announces 50 points historic rate cut. Chair Jerome Powell says US economy is in a good place. And Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja produces a great fight after Bangladesh pushed India on back foot.
We are looking at new and emerging dimensions in India's most important strategic partnership with the United States.
From Washington's standpoint, India, I would say, is a rising part of our economic portfolio looking globally. It's now one of our 10 largest trading partners. And again, if any company has got offshore R&D and IT, it's probably coming first to places like Bangalore and Hyderabad. What we've seen just in the last couple of years is a shift away from transfer of technology, of selling things to India, and of exercises, which are all great and they're fundamental, but we are now moving actively into interoperability.
Thanks for staying with us. US Federal Reserve's decision to lower interest rate is a moment of progress. This is how White House has described the US Federal Reserve's announcement of its sixth policy decision for 2024 after a two-day Federal Open Market Committee meeting and slashed the benchmark interest rates by 50 basis points to 4.75%. That is 5% for the first time in 4 years. White House, meanwhile, has called it the moment of progress. Dheeraj Das of DD India has more.
Resurgent risk appetite swept global financial markets higher from stocks and metal to gold and oil on Thursday after the US Federal Reserve kicked off its long-awaited interest rate cutting cycle with a half-point move. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said that US Federal Reserve's decision to lower interest rates is a moment of progress.
Now prices are going to go down if you think about being able to buy a home. And these are important items for the American people. And so that's how we see this. We see this as a moment of progress.
Investors welcomed the Fed's decision on Wednesday. The US dollar dropped on Thursday, with sterling, the Australian dollar and the Norwegian crown outperforming their peers. Rate-sensitive growth stocks like Microsoft, Meta and Alphabet, Google, that have led much of the year's rally, advanced over 1.5% each in pre-market trading. New Yorkers on Wall Street and outside the stock exchange responded positively to the US Federal Reserve cutting. In Asia, the Tokyo Stock Exchange's benchmark index gained more than 2% on Thursday after the Federal Reserve cut. The Nikkei 225 ended the day at 37,155 points. It gained over 1,000 points, or nearly 3% at one stage. India's stock market indices Sensex and Nifty that touched fresh highs on Thursday morning after the Federal Reserve cut rate paired gains at closing. The US Federal Reserve on Wednesday cut its benchmark interest rate by an unusually large half-point. Fed Chair Jerome Powell indicated that the US economy will remain strong and unemployment rate was not a worrying factor.
You see growth at a solid rate. You see inflation coming down, and you see a labor market that's still at very solid levels. So I don't really see that, no.
Bank of England on Thursday kept its key interest rate at 5%, deciding against consecutive cuts one day after a reduction from the US Federal Reserve. The Fed had kept its policy rate in the 5.25% to 5.5% range since last July, when it ended an 18-month rate hike campaign that was meant to control a surge in inflation, which soared in 2022 to a 40-year high. Coming just weeks before the presidential election, the Fed's move also has the potential to scramble the economic landscape just as Americans prepare to vote. Bureau Report, DD India.
The Viksit Bharat Ambassador Yuva Connect was launched from Maharashtra today. The initiative will guide the youth about their responsibility towards achieving the goal of Viksit Bharat, or developed India. During his interaction with the students, India's Youth Affairs and Sports Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia pointed out the strong history of the SP College and mentioned that several bright students have been its alumni. These students have served the country in various fields. The dream of a developed India we envision will also be fulfilled through the strength of such bright students. On its Constitution Day, a vibrant National Day concert took place at Darbar Marg in Kathmandu in Nepal. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, alongside his wife Radhika Shakya, Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Bishnu Podel and Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak joined the celebrations. The atmosphere was electric, with citizens displaying their national pride by waving flags, painting their faces with the Nepali flag and singing patriotic songs along the orchestra. The concert kicked off with the performances from musical bands representing the Nepal Police, Nepal Army and Armed Police Force, featuring 32 artists showcasing the cultural diversity of all 7 provinces. And you're watching TD India News Hour. It's time for some sports news, and we begin with some cricket news. India's Ashwin has smashed a rapid ton and combined with Ravindra Jadeja in an epic action as the hosts overcome a top-order meltdown to reach 339 for 6 against Bangladesh on the opening day of the first test on Thursday. Opener Yashasvi Jaiswal made 56, but it was marathon 195-run unbroken stand for 7th wicket between Ashwin and Jadeja that helped India claw their way back into the contest. Ashwin slammed unbeaten 102 of 112 deliveries, which is his 6th test 100, while Jadeja, batting on 86, was closing in on his 5th test 100. For Bangladesh, Hassan Mahmood took 4 wickets. He dismissed captain Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Shubham Gill and Rishabh Pant. On to tennis. Ahead of the Laver Cup, Team Europe looks super confident against Team World. The 7th edition of the prestigious tournament is all set to kickstart in Berlin on Friday, where the 6 best tennis players from Europe will compete against 6 best players from the rest of the world. Here's more.
The 7th edition of the Laver Cup is all set to kickstart in Berlin on Friday, the 20th of September, where the 3-day event will be putting 6 of the best tennis players from Europe against 6 of the best from rest of the world. The multiple-day tennis event, co-organized by former tennis champion Roger Federer, is being hosted in Germany for the first time in its 7-year-old history. The teams are captained by former Swedish champion Bjorn Borg and John McEnroe of the USA. Ahead of the gala event, Team Europe's Alexander Zverev showed confidence in his team.
Wow, I mean, we have with Carlos somebody who has won 2 Grand Slams. I think me and Daniil, we've had a great season as well. I think everybody else, you know, we're top 10 almost across the board. So everybody can play great tennis and, you know, contribute to the team.
Team Europe's captain said that the players on the courts are very competitive and no one wants to lose.
They take it very seriously. You can look at the guys here. We make interviews, but on the court they are like this, very competitive, and no one wants to lose. It's the same with me and John McEnroe. We are the same rivalry, but we don't want to lose.
On the other hand, Team World's captain John McEnroe said that since this is his final time as the captain, he would like to go out with a bang.
What really matters is when you start playing. So you know you can talk all you want, but we're gonna give it our best shot. It's my final time as captain, so I'd like to go out with a bang.
The Laver Cup tournament had been dominated by Team Europe in its early years, but Team World caught up over the last few years, and both the teams are now aiming for a straight game victory in this current edition. Sports Desk, DD India.
And that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.